this is an ambassador deployed in Washington, D.C., I would want to know when the ambassador reported, because when I was there, the embassy was manned by a charge d'affaires. There was no ambassador. I don't know when he reported. Secondly, Honorable Speaker, you will see the tabulation here. There is only that attaché for a country that is as important as the U.S., and I would have expected a discussion on the adequacy. When I was there, I was given an example, Honorable Speaker, like Vietnam has 4 agricultural attachés, indicating the seriousness with which they take their job. I would have expected a discussion about the adequacy of the staff that have been deployed. If you are telling us, Honorable Speaker, that you have 1 staff in the consulate in New York, what happens when that person falls sick? That is why there are all sorts of problems in these consulates, because you cannot have 1 person manning a station. It just doesn't make any sense. So that is the sort of discussion that I had expected, and I have to express my disappointment in the answer so that the Cabinet Secretary understands what I wanted to get from him. But in terms of follow-up questions, Honorable Speaker, first of all, the women in the U.S., Honorable CS, asked me to ask you specifically why it is that since 1963, with the first Kenyan ambassador, Burudi Nabwera, up to today, you have never seconded a woman as the ambassador of Kenya to the U.S. That is a question that the ladies asked me to put to the CS, and I would be remiss if I did not put to it. Maybe there is a thinking within government as to the capacity of women to be deployed in serious postings, such as Washington, D.C. Honorable Speaker, secondly, the problem with the delays in the processing of IDs, as the CS himself has alluded to, is that it's a manual process. People have to travel from all across the U.S., a country that is far more vast than, say, the EU. And if the CS would compare the deployment of diplomatic staff in the entire European Union, which is smaller in size than the American continent, Honorable Speaker, these people have to travel from all these far distances, 5-hour flights, 6-hour flights. Then you come to the embassy and you have to do this manual process as if you are at a DC's office in Kerugoya, Honorable Speaker. And then they are put in a diplomatic bag, they are sent here. There is no special office for processing of diaspora applications for IDs. They are just lumped together with other applications from, say, Kilifi, Bungoma, and Nairobi. And yet there is an office that was created, I think it is a department, on diaspora affairs. Can the CS shed light on the responsibilities of this office and what these people do in the diaspora office, if not just concentrate on these applications, and what they are doing to automate the process of processing of identification cards? Because, Honorable Speaker, the feedback was that because we have automated the application process and the processing of passports are faster than IDs that are still manual. So what is the plan, Honorable CS, for you to address these challenges to ensure that people get these documents, critical documents, in good time? I thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Honorable Prime Cabinet Secretary, you may proceed to respond, please.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. There are quite a number of issues that are valid in the concerns that the Senator does raise. The first thing that I need to point out is that there's no discrimination against women in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. And in fact, as we speak today, I can give you an example that in the UK, the High Commissioner is a lady. I would also want to point out that the ambassador for Kenya in Washington reported 2 weeks ago. So he's in station. And this comes, there's a cycle. Ambassadors and officers in missions have a cycle, a tour of duty of about 4 years. And in the process, the issue of their term expiring, it is staggered, it's not all at the same time. So this would have been a situation where you are visiting when the outgoing was also just preparing to come back or had just left, and that is Ambassador Amayo. So sometimes you are caught up in these cycles between transition, and I would say that that is the reason why maybe you did not meet the ambassador, but there's an ambassador as we speak today. I have indicated that the consular services through the diaspora affairs did yield about 2,500 IDs in different towns, and therefore we'll continue in the efforts to make sure that we reach out. Automation and technology are things we are pursuing within the context of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in linkage, in liaison even with the immigration, so that we can improve the services. So there are these delays that we hope to get through going forward. Finally, Mr. Speaker, it would be a big omission if I did not inform the Senate that one of the challenges that we have faced and we continue to face is actually the resource allocation. And I'll give a very clear example that, for instance, when we lost the finance bill, we have seriously had to do a serious haircut in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, just like other ministries. But when you look at it in the context of the resources that would have been available to make sure that we are seamless in our operations, as of now, let me admit that we are constrained financially, and it is a challenge that is facing the entire country. So we hope that within the context of the next financial year, as we progress, we can improve on the funding of our missions.
Senator Mungatana.
Asante sana Bwana Spika kwa kunipa nafasi hii. Namkaribisha waziri wetu mkuu kwa bunge letu la Senate. Na swali langu Bwana Spika linahusika pale kuhusu ni wangapi ambao wanafanya kazi katika ubalozi wa Amerika. Bwana Spika, kitambo kidogo nilifanya kazi katika wizara ya nchi za kigeni. Na kulikuwa shida pale kwa sababu watu wengi huwa wanataka kutoka Kenya waende kufanya kazi nchi za nje. Sasa swali ambalo nilikuwa nataka kufuatilia, ubalozi wa Amerika umeahidi kwamba pesa zikipatikana waziri utatuongezea wafanyikazi pale. Sisi tunataka kujua katika ile kuzigawa zile nafasi, ni wangapi wanatoka Tana River, ni wangapi wanatoka sehemu ya kaunti hii, kaunti hii, kaunti ile. Kwa sababu gani? Tunataka usawa. Hatutaki wizara iwe na shida ya kwamba pande moja, pande mbili, pande tatu ndio ziko katika wizara. Sasa mimi nauliza, katika wizara na ubalozi wa Amerika ni watu wangapi wanatoka Tana River, kaunti yetu? Na kama hawako hapo, nauliza katika ile breakdown ya wale ambao wanafanya kazi pale, kuna usawa? Na kama hakuna, waziri una mipango gani ya kuhakikisha kwamba katika ubalozi wa Amerika na balozi zingine kuna usawa kwa wale watu ambao wanaenda kufanya kazi za nje? Asante Bwana Spika.
Senator Catherine Muma. Prime Cabinet Secretary, you may note down the questions and then you can respond to them at a group.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, and welcome to the Senate, the Prime Cabinet Secretary. My question to you, Honorable Prime Cabinet Secretary, is whether we have a national policy guiding the ratio of appointment of ambassadors between politically appointed ambassadors and career diplomatic ambassadors. Honorable Prime Cabinet Secretary, my question is premised on the fact that international diplomatic relations is a very serious issue, And when we see appointments, sometimes we see more politically appointed ambassadors than career diplomats. So we would want to know whether we have a policy that guides on the ratio. Thank you.
Senator Okanyuri.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I wish to ask the Cabinet Secretary the following question: whether citizens in diaspora with the dual citizenship will also be required to register for Maisha card. Thank you.
Senator Kavindu Agnes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I want to, first of all, appreciate the CS for coming today. We've been waiting for him for a long, long time. Mr. Speaker, mine is a bit diverted, but he's aware of it, and I'm sure he can answer it. It's about how far he has gone with the issue of the compensation of the Kenyan victims, as in getting the amendment from the US Congress. Because when we were in America, we discussed about this in your presence, and you are aware of it, and I don't know how far you've gone with this issue. And I also want to know if you are aware that the victims who were at the embassy, serving at the Embassy of America here in Kenya, are getting their green cards to go to the US, and most of them are in their 80s. What are you doing about negotiating for them that their relatives who are younger can get the green cards and go and serve there? Because majority of them who are working there are now of age, and they cannot go and work unless they just go and stay there. And this is ongoing right now with the Embassy of America. Thank you.
Senator Osotsi.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you, Prime CS, who is also my senior constituent from Vihiga County. Speaker, I would like to find out from the Prime CS, I can see from the response, there is a disparity in numbers between New York and Los Angeles. Ordinarily, we would expect that New York, being the leading economic hub of the US, will have more focus around it. We can see in New York we have 1 staff, and Los Angeles we have 7. So what informs this disparity? Number 2, I am shocked with the low staffing levels in the embassies in the US, which means probably in other countries is even worse, Mr. Speaker. And we know that the trend globally is focused around economic diplomacy. So can the Prime CS tell us what plans he has to upscale economic diplomacy through these various embassies and consulates? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Veronica.
Honorable Speaker, and welcome once again, Prime Cabinet Secretary. Commendably, the IEBC rolled out the voting rights for the diaspora, and the diaspora remittances are some of the highest exchange earners for our country, so hence the need for them to continue exercising their rights to the presidential vote, to determine the presidential vote. Honorable Cabinet Secretary, have you considered rolling out consulates in states where Kenyans are we have a heavy population of Kenyans, like Texas, Atlanta, besides Los Angeles and New York and Washington, where we have an embassy, seeing that these are the stations where the voting takes place in the United States? And have you also considered the cost of diaspora accessing this station is still very high? They would have to spend close to $1,000 to access a voting station when it's time for them to vote? What are you doing to mitigate that effect and reduction of cost and access to the stations where they need to vote every cycle of 5 years?
Senator Dulo.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I wish to welcome CS. Mr. Speaker, I want to ask a question on office accommodation in various missions and commissions. I mean missions and embassies. Mr. Speaker, I sit in Committee of National Security and Foreign Relations of this House. CS, we have tried to get in touch so that we can discuss matters affecting, but we are unable to get you, and I don't want to prosecute that here. But I remember 2015, there was a motion passed on the floor of this House regarding office accommodation by then Senator Fonyeri, Senator Mutahi Kagwe. Mr. Speaker, our last visit to UAE, the embassies were actually complaining about the value of Kenya shilling that has gone down, which has doubled actually the rent that they are paying within those missions and embassies. I remember in that particular motion, the Senate was requesting that the money you are paying for those rents should be actually used in form of a loan to pay for those properties the government is actually occupying. Mr. Speaker, I've been to Switzerland, Geneva. The kind of office that you have there, it's really very beautiful, and we really get very encouraged when we visit those offices. If you look at New York, Mr. Speaker, we are renting a property as Kenyan government when Uganda has a very huge building in New York City. Really, it's so embarrassing. And I want to know what the ministry is doing as far as this office accommodation is concerned. I thank you.
Prime CS, you may now proceed to respond.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. There are several critical issues that have been raised, so I'll respond to them not in any specific order, but just as I was taking the notes. Now, the first issue is to do with the tribal or ethnic balance that was raised. I want to state very clearly that it is our intention, and very deliberate, that we need our missions always to reflect the face of Kenya, the diversity of Kenya, and therefore we will work to achieve this in all our missions. I may not have everything in terms of the community that one comes from, but I took note of what Mongatana was saying, and it's a very pertinent point, that in the deployment of officers, it is important that all parts of Kenya are represented. And I would want to believe that I'll be better prepared to respond to this particular question, even as a separate item. The second point I'd like to point out on this particular issue is that the question that arises about the ratio of the career diplomats and the incoming or other appointees that are in from other sectors, whether private sector or the political realm, that come into the diplomatic space. And that, again, is a valid question. And, Mr. Speaker, I want to perhaps announce to the House today that we are in the process of formulating a sessional paper which will be discussed by Parliament. And one of the critical issues that we'll be putting across in this sessional paper is for us to have a conversation as a country through our leadership as legislators so that we can establish a reasonable ratio so that we can have career progression for the diplomats who are in office or working in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. But at the same time, we can also work closely to bring in some infusion from outside, because it's always good to have this injection of ideas and approaches from the outside world. We should not necessarily be incestuous permanently in this context. We should be able to infuse with other people. So this is going to be a very critical issue in that conversation. And I will be appealing to members to give it very good thought when the sessional paper is availed for this conversation. The other point I want to quickly point out was the issue of how many consulates can we open. We would have liked to have more, but we are constrained financially, and that is why we are still operating with the LA as the consulate in the United States. If resources permit in future, we can indeed increase the number of consulates. On the issue of the voting, I think it's important that this is a conversation that we shall have to have jointly with the IEBC, because again, when it comes to the issues of voter registration and access, that is a domain that falls within the IEBC, and we at Foreign Affairs would be more of a facilitator, but we cannot try to usurp the role of the IEBC in terms of voter registration, and which should be the centers, but we can have a conversation at the appropriate time. I wish to make a correction. Indeed, I may have indicated the LA consulate and the New York consulate. Maybe I didn't communicate well. This was raised by Honorable Osotsi. I wish to state that indeed in New York, we have a permanent mission. And in that permanent mission, which is the busiest station, as you say, we have an authorized establishment of 18, and they're in place, save for 4, as we speak now in New York. So perhaps that's an addition of supplementary information I will make available to show that the permanent mission is well staffed and there are people in station. The issue of our foreign service assets, that is the properties that we own and the ones that we may not own, that is a very, very important issue, because rental payments in the foreign countries is a very big burden. It consumes quite a lot of money in some of the stations. But I'm pleased to announce to the Kenyans that, through the Senate, to the Kenyans that as we speak now, Kenya bought a whole floor just next to the United Nations headquarters. And that is where the permanent mission is now domiciled. That's where the chancery is. So we have taken care of that particular item. We cannot, we missed our chances then. When Uganda bought, that was way back during the time of Idi Amin Dada. That's when he bought the asset for Uganda. We cannot say that we can afford to have the resources to buy a new building or a building today in New York, but we have money to secure a whole floor, which is now occupied by the government. I also want to state that in terms of our global assets, which we are talking about, in New York, we have some properties as well, and in other stations, and we are developing a strategy on how to realize the value of our global assets, which includes development of the various properties, and to see how we can seek different financing mechanisms, either through PPP or joint programs with even some of our Kenyan financial institutions to be able to develop the assets that we have in different countries. And this again is a detail we'll share in a sessional paper that we shall be presenting to you. Mr. Speaker, I cannot speak for the American immigration policy. They have their own policy, and therefore we can only raise concerns on some of the issues and perhaps seek some negotiations, but we cannot impose our will on the American immigration policy. I have personally had my own experiences where sometimes what the ambassador is doing, they can become very clear and tell you that the State Department for Immigration is independent and handles its issues separately. So it takes much more. But I can say that as we negotiate the strategic trade and investment partnership agreement, that is the STIP, with the United States, and the negotiations are quite advanced, we hope that some of these issues can be tackled within the framework of that conversation. There is the issue of the compensation of the victims of the blast. We are pursuing that matter following the resolution of the House on that, so that we can engage formally with the Parliament or the Congress in the US. This is now underway following the resolution that was passed by our members of the legislature. And at an appropriate time, we will be able to report progress systematically, because it's a process that has to engage with your counterparts on the other side. There is one thing that I want to state, that indeed economic diplomacy is very critical to us. The United States is perhaps now our largest market when it comes to the export of apparel. We are close to, I think we are the largest exporter to them, and the market continues to grow. So we take our relationship with the United States very, very seriously in this context as a key and fundamental trade matter. And that is why you will find that during the recent state visit by the President, certain key issues were undertaken of enhancing the trade partnership between us and the United States. As I've said, we are also negotiating the strategic trade and investment partnership agreement, and there are other programs that the Kenya government is working very, very closely with the United States, which have a major bearing on the economies of both countries, but more so on the Kenyan economy. Mr. Speaker, there's one issue that I may need to get a little more clarification, but that was the issue of the dual citizenship and the Maisha card. If the Speaker allows, we can do a little more research on this specific item and communicate to the House. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Senator Muma.
My question on the policy on the ratio between diplomats, politically appointed diplomats and career diplomats?
I did respond to it. I said that we may not have a firm figure, but for instance, I could give you what I think. For instance, a proportion of about 70% for the career diplomats and 30% for the infusion would be a fairly decent arrangement. But as I said, we are giving a more thought-out process that will appear in the sessional paper, which we shall bring to Parliament for discussion. Thank you.
Senator, yes, Senator Mudama.
Yes.
Your question has not been responded to adequately.
It has been responded, but Mr. Speaker, I just want to ask the CS if he can listen to me. Mr. CS, if you can listen. Mr. Speaker, I just wanted to request him.
Senator Kavindu, you know, an outstanding order.
He was talking and you are not seeing, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Kavindu, just have your seat. Please take your seat. Please.
Just
take your seat. You see, under standing orders, and more particularly Standing Order 51(7)C, 51(C)(7)C, states that the senator who has the primary question has a chance to ask 2 supplementary questions. Any other senator can only ask 1 supplementary question, which we do not have the provisions on standing order. All right, proceed. If you need clarification, that's quite okay.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I just wanted to tell Mr. CS that, Honorable CS, that these people have been waiting for their compensation for the last 26 good years. Many of them are dying. So as much as we are in good relationship with the Americans and we don't want to offend them, but let's follow up for the compensation of our people, please. They are dying in poverty. They are perishing in poverty. Even as a country, as Kenyans, we've not been able to assist them with anything, even medical assistance. Thank you.
Senator Cheriot.
Mr. Speaker, I want to thank the Prime CS for finding time to respond to these questions. And it's not just in this House. I must appreciate him for his diligence, even outside this House, how he responds to issues raised by Kenyans. Mr. Speaker, my question is to piggyback on what Senator Sifuna had initially asked. Availability of government services, actually, to our citizens in the diaspora. I know, Mr. Speaker, that through eCitizen, Kenyans are now able to access thousands of government services online, and they're able to pay for the same and quickly receive solutions to their problems. The challenge with our diaspora citizens is that these services are either not available or a help desk to help them maybe respond to the issues, such as what Senator Sifuna was speaking about, ID applications, renewal of passports, and the same. Yet, these are services that I want to give if his ministry, alongside the other state department that is in charge of citizen services, like eCitizen, Mr. Speaker, were to set up a help desk across our consulars, Mr. Speaker, then citizens will be saved from the trouble of having to travel thousands of kilometers sometimes, wasting money and time to access certain critical government services. So the question in brief, Mr. Speaker, is when are they going to make eCitizen services easily accessible and the issues that citizens have easily resolvable, Mr. Speaker, so that they don't struggle? I thank you.
Senator Eddy.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I want to thank the CS, the Prime CS, for being in the House today to answer these questions. I also wanted to piggyback on Senator Sifuna's questions on the efficiency of staffing, and particularly narrow it down to legal services. Looking at the United States, Mr. Speaker, having studied there and lived there for over 8 years, and having ties to the United States, Mr. Speaker, with the diaspora, the Kenyan in the diaspora, Mr. Speaker, there is a lot of challenges for our people there with regards to legal representations. Mr. Speaker, as you know, in the United States as well as other countries where our people are found, there are a number of people who get arrested, whether genuinely or for reasons otherwise. And after those arrests, some of them end up being incarcerated to the extent that their families cannot be able to access them. They don't have legal services. Mr. Speaker, a case in example is a former prominent presidential candidate, Mohamed Abdu Badida, who was incarcerated, and for months, almost 2 years, even our government did not know that he was under bars. He was behind bars, Mr. Speaker. And I just wonder whether there is proper legal services across the 52 states, because I know that in DC is where we have got 1 or 2 legal representations, but what is the ministry doing to make sure that our people in the United States have got representation across the United States? And is this also extended as services to other countries where we are seeing problems like war in Lebanon, where legal representation is a problem, as well as evacuation of our people in Lebanon? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Miraj.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My question to the CS is concerning our sisters who are on the run in Saudi Arabia, whom, after following up with your ministry, I was updated that the Department for Diaspora had conducted some DNA tests because the sisters of ours had kids in the foreign country. And there's been a problem of them being deported with their kids back to Kenya. So my question is, for how long are our sisters to wait for this? Because they are not able to access the rescue centers in Saudi. So they are living on the run with small kids who are exposed to so many cruelty to the women who are left to take care of them. So my question is, Mr. CS, for how long do our sisters have to survive on the run while the matter is already in the attention of the ministry, and they are supposed to have been paying some legal fees for them to have the ownership of their kids? So my question is, for how long will our sisters be exposed in the Saudi Arabia before the government can take the necessary actions to bring them back with their kids to their nation? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Onyonka.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. First of all, I would like to say that I'm happy to see the Cabinet Secretary, who is somebody I've worked with before and somebody I know very well. And Mr. Speaker, I would like to say that I am giving my appreciation of the fact that when, about 2 weeks ago, we had an incident in Mali, and I called somebody in the ministry and told them that there are Kenyans who are in trouble, and I was surprised, pleasantly surprised, that the government was able to engage that team overnight, and the following morning, in fact, the Kenyans who are in trouble responded back and said, we are safe, and thank you for intervening, and they thanked the officer in the ministry. I forget her name, and she did an excellent job. Mr. Speaker, the question I'm actually asking the CS is that when you look at what is happening in Lebanon, I've not seen the Kenyan government come up either explaining to the public what you intend to do with Kenyans who have been working there. There are cases of Kenyans who are calling us back. Do you have any plans to airlift those Kenyans in case the war continues? And is there a possibility that you can actually set up a fund from now on? Because most of the money that members of the Kenyan community are giving us in form of contributions or diaspora transfers is a lot of money. So I would like the minister to tell us whether there's a possibility they can set up a fund, and if possible, if it works well, so that anytime we have an emergency and anytime there are cases where Kenyans who are working outside Kenya and they're in trouble, whether there's a possibility that we can always airlift our people back and make sure that every Kenyans are safe, because the world is becoming a bit volatile. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator for Nandi, Senator Chiranke.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mine is on the issue of, you see, Mr. Speaker, the money that came to this country through foreign exchange, Anna, was 15,966 million in February 2024, according to the Central Bank of the Republic of Kenya. My question, Mr. Speaker, because this is the highest foreign exchange earner to the Republic, is about labor attaches. Mr. Speaker, you are aware the CS of labor was in this house a few months ago. My concern is, what is the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and through Prime Cabinet Secretary on the issue of labor attaches to ensure our young men and women, because the President has just signed what we call labor, there was the labor migration bill, and the President has signed for more people or young people to be taken. And Mr. Speaker, even on the issue of legal services, Mr. Speaker, you are aware we only have one legal advisor in New York. I remember there was a frustrated person from Kapsabet a few months ago, and I shared with the PS of Foreign Affairs. My concern, Mr. Speaker, what is the role of the Department of Diaspora Affairs in terms of handling such matters? Because I remember when I shared with the PS of Foreign Affairs, Mr. Speaker, the intervention took long. But my concern, it should be the Office of the Diaspora of Foreign Affairs through the PS, who is my very good neighbor. And he normally comes to Nandi occasionally, and he has even relatives. What can he do, Mr. Speaker, on these two matters that I've raised? I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Olekina.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, let me begin by appreciating the Prime Cabinet Secretary. These proceedings, Mr. Speaker, are live. And while seated here, I've just received a question from a Kenyan who live in the United States and another one who live in the UK. And their concern is one. The concern has got to do with a fiduciary responsibility of our embassies across the country. In the UK, the query is very simple. And Mr. Speaker, you'll allow me to refer to my message which has just been sent to me. And this relates to the address number 45 Portland Place, London, United Kingdom. And then the sort code is W1A 4GA. And the concern here is a very basic concern. It has to do with filing of annual returns for Government of Kenya. These are returns which are required for every embassy across. The United Kingdom requires this. So my question to the Prime Cabinet Secretary is that, are you aware that filing of annual returns by the Government of Kenya has not been consistent, specifically for the High Commission Office in the United Kingdom? And if so, what can be done to be able to ensure that we have a check system that will guarantee that we are compliant in those countries? Number two also has to do with our embassies abroad. Do we have any embassies that we own? And I ask this because of the issue of Uganda. Uganda, across the world, Idi Amin did something very, very honorable. He bought buildings for in every country. In New York, it's actually a walking distance to the United Nations headquarters. So I just wanted to confirm whether we have some that we own and also whether we are compliant in filing our returns, and if we are renting, if we are compliant in paying our rent. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Manzadan.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, while I ask a question in relation to Senator Sifuna's matter, I want to give the Cabinet Secretary good news from his office that recently a Catholic sister from my village who is working in Argentina sought help for good conduct so that she could be processed. And I just advised her on phone to get in touch with the ministry online. And Mr. Speaker, I want to surprise the Cabinet Secretary. Within 2 days, she had, everything had been processed and she was able to be employed in Argentina. And that shows that somebody somewhere, and this was the legal department, is doing something good in your ministry. But at the same time, Mr. Speaker, is there a policy in the event a Kenyan dies abroad? A lot of times, and especially those countries which do not keep bodies for long, especially countries which do cremation, and especially Islamic countries where funeral is conducted in a day. When a Kenyan passes away abroad, it becomes such a challenge, Mr. Speaker, so that by the time you get the body home, it has almost become the responsibility of member of parliament or senator. Is there a policy, and so that there is a desk where Kenyans can report, and because of our culture, our own people who are deceased could be taken care of with urgency, and the families could be settled during bereavement? I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Prime CS, you may now proceed to respond.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I must say that as we talk, there are what you might call emerging issues as well in this conversation. But let me start by saying that I think, and I believe what Honorable Senator Cheriot had in mind was to develop a Huduma Center approach to providing services for Kenyans in the diaspora in different capitals. And I think there is merit in this, and I can state that indeed, as we work with other departments, it's something that we are trying to enhance, especially around our consular services, so that there's a one-stop center for the services that Kenyans require. I wish to respond to some of the other issues in the following manner. The question of legal services, it is important, but I want to also just mention to the Kenyans that we are talking of almost 3.5 million Kenyans out there in different parts of the globe. Of course, the United States has the highest population, but in all the countries, we are talking of almost 3 million plus Kenyans who are in the diaspora. And the best we can do is that as much as we can have legal advisory services, sometimes within the embassies, depending on the resources available, we would strongly advocate that going forward, perhaps we can improve on this in terms of whether we have sufficient resources to back this particular service. But you will appreciate also that sometimes we have cases where Kenyans are in distress, and some can signal the embassy and say they are in distress. There are others who do not speak at all when they are in distress, so you sometimes stumble on information, but maybe it was not volunteered by the person in question. And this is the example of the Dida case. We were reading about it. When he left, when he went, obviously it was his personal decision. But the communication as to his whereabouts or what he was doing, he was silent on this. So it becomes very difficult to be able to keep track on some of these. But our missions have intervened in various circumstances to try and guide Kenyans in distress and help them to access legal services in different areas. But please remember, it is a very expensive undertaking, and we would be misleading the House if we said that we can take up this role directly. It can be maybe under very special circumstances that an intervention is done. On the issue of Kenyans who may have died abroad, in the last, I think in the course of this year, Kenya, the Kenyan Foreign Ministry has assisted about 18 cases of Kenyans who may have died under different circumstances. And our embassies, our missions, have been of assistance in trying to repatriate the remains to the country. And again, as I say, this is when the distress and the circumstances are on a case-by-case basis that you analyze and see what the circumstances are. We have the bilateral labor agreements, which we are working on. We have negotiated some, like with Germany, with Austria. These are now concluded. There are others that are in the pipeline. For instance, the Saudi government, we are working on how to improve our engagement when it comes to the labor movement. Recently, for instance, the Qatar Minister for Labor was here, and this was a conversation on how we can advance the conversation between Kenya and Qatar. So we'll continue streamlining the bilateral labor agreements so that any issue of immigration or migrant workers is in conformity with the international law. It also conforms to matters of human rights, and through these bilateral agreements, we want to try and secure the dignity of Kenyans in the various places that they prefer to work in. On the issue of Lebanon, I just want to state that one, we have about 26,000 Kenyans in Lebanon, and obviously evacuating 26,000 is a very massive undertaking. But as a measure, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, through our embassy in Kuwait, was sending out messages so that those who are in distress can register. Even before the war escalated, this was ongoing. And I think we had received almost about 1,500 or so who had registered with the embassy, indicating that they may need support for evacuation. The others were quiet. And believe you me, Kenyans, senators, we also had a situation where the Kenyans there, out of their own volition, say they don't want to move. They want to hold out until the situation cools down. So we have that dilemma as well of Kenyans who hope for the best and do not want to move. And you cannot force them because we have to handle this in a humanitarian way. But the government of Kenya has set aside 100 million, and there's a committee in the Foreign Affairs working with the security and other agencies to see how this 100 million can be utilized to assist in the evacuation of Kenyans who are in Lebanon at this point in time. I may need to seek further clarification from the Honorable Senator Olekena, because the issue of the returns, maybe I need guidance a little more on what are the specifics of these returns, because we are also guided, we are also under the diplomatic arrangements, so we may need to seek clarification, and then we can tackle that particular issue. You came in and you did touch on the investments that Uganda made at that time. I think they were very lucky and they were wise in a way, but I had responded to it partially by saying that right now, in New York, for instance, Kenya has bought a floor in a building, and I'm happy to state that during the UNGA conference, the Senator Ledama was with us in that very space that has been bought by the Kenyans in New York. But we have other assets. We have residential assets and so forth. And when we said that we have a global strategy, a strategy being developed for our global assets, we are going to share this conversation with you so that we can all have a unified position as Kenyans on how we can unleash the value and the potential of the assets we have in different countries abroad. There are quite a number. Whether on the African continent, Europe, or now as we are talking in the US and so forth, or Asia, we need time to have a serious conversation on these assets. I wish to reiterate the issue about compensation, which the Senator Machakos raised, and I want to reiterate that we are looking at it, but we must be conscious of the fact that we cannot dictate to the American Congress. We can submit Kenya's situation, but the procedure of their operations, their standing orders, we cannot override that as a country. But we continue engaging so that the matter can receive the necessary attention from the Congress. Thank you.
Yes, your question hasn't been responded to adequately.
Mr. Speaker, I think the PCS forgot to respond on my labor attaches, considering, apart from the agreements on labor immigration, whether our 52 consulate and embassies have attaches to assist, especially transiting Kenyans to new labor environments.
You may proceed, Honorable Prime CS.
Yeah, thank you for reminding me, Senator Nandi. Not all our missions. We cannot have labor attaches in all the missions, and it's all a question of the resource and assessing the demand in a specific area. But under the consular services, we are trying to provide a holistic response and advice and support to issues that may be labor related. Thank you.
Senator Shakila.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, my question to the Minister is regarding the dual citizenship. There is an issue whereby it is clearly enshrined in the Constitution, people are entitled for dual citizenship, but it has proved to be very difficult. If any Kenyan from diaspora is requesting for citizenship here in our country, it is more expensive than getting a citizenship outside in the foreign country. I don't know what measures the ministry is putting to ensure that our Kenyans who are outside the country, they are entitled for their constitutional right by acquiring a dual citizenship, and if there's any special department which they can go and get their passports without further delays or bribing or any kind of challenges. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Prime CS, proceed to respond, please.
Mr. Speaker, the only department that would deal with this is the Immigration Department. As I indicated, I think it was raised a little bit earlier, that we may need to have some specifics on some of this so that we can jointly with the Immigration Department identify the bottlenecks so that we can make this a little smoother. So if the honorable senator has some time, I wouldn't mind having some conversation on some detail on the specific cases that you'll be talking about. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Honorable Prime CS, for showing up for purposes of responding to the questions. There being no other questions directed to the Prime Cabinet Secretary, from my dashboard, there is no senator wishing to ask any question, and therefore, Prime Cabinet Secretary, you are free to leave the chamber.
Tell Waziri, before you dash, how are you?
Now, honorable senators, before I let the clerk call the next order, I have a message from the National Assembly that I need to pass to the Senate. Senator Kavindu, take your seat, please. Now, honorable senators, I wish to report that I have, pursuant to Article 152 of the Constitution, as read with Article 145(2) of the Constitution and Standing Order 46(3) of the Senate Standing Orders, received a message from the Speaker of the National Assembly regarding the approval of a special motion for the removal from office by impeachment of His Excellency Rigathi Gachagua, EGH, Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya. Honorable Senators, you may proceed to take your seats. Honorable Senators, I did write Kenya Gazette number 13, 170, volume CXX, V1, number 157, dated the 9th of October 2024, upon today, Wednesday, the 9th of October 2024, at 9:30 a.m., as the sitting convened for the purpose of hearing the charges in the matter of the proposed removal from office by impeachment of His Excellency Rigathi Gachagua, EGH, Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya. Honorable Senators, the message dated Tuesday, the 8th of October 2024, was received in my office on Wednesday, the 9th of October 2024, and indicated that the National Assembly had resolved, with the support of 282 members, being at least 2/3 of all members of the National Assembly, that pursuant to the provisions of Articles 145(2), as read with Article 151(b) and 2 of the Constitution, His Excellency Rigathi Gachagua, EGH, Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya, be removed from office by impeachment on the following grounds. Ground number 1, gross violation of Articles 10, 2A, B, and C, 27(4), 73(1)A, and 2B, 75(1)C, and 129(2) of the Constitution, and Articles 147(1) as read together with Article 131(2)C and D of the Constitution. 2, gross violation of Articles 147(1) and 152(1) of the Constitution by undermining the President and the Cabinet and the effective discharge of the national government's executive mandate. Number 3, gross violation of Articles 6(2), 10(2)A, 174, 186(1), 189(1), and the 4th schedule to the Constitution by undermining devolution. 4, gross violation of Article 161 of the Constitution on the institutional and decisional independence of judges. Number 5, gross violation of Articles 3(1) and 148(5)A of the Constitution on the fidelity to the oath of office and allegiance. Number 6, serious reasons to believe that His Excellency the Deputy President has committed crimes under Section 13(1)(a) and 62 of the National Cohesion and Integration Act. Number 7, serious reasons to believe that His Excellency the Deputy President has committed gross economic crimes under Section 45(1), 46, 47(a)(3), and 48(1) of the Anti-Corruption and Economic Crimes Act, and Sections 2, 3, 4, and 7 of the Proceeds of Crime and Anti-Money Laundering Act. Number 8, serious reasons to believe that His Excellency the Deputy President has committed crimes by continuously misleading members of the public through false, malicious, divisive, and insightful remarks that are contrary to the provisions of Section 132 of the Penal Code and Section 29 of the Leadership and Integrity Act. Number 9, gross misconduct that is incompatible with the high calling and dignified status of the office of the Deputy President and a member of the Cabinet and the National Security Council. His Excellency, the Deputy President, has publicly attacked and undermined the work of the National Security Intelligence Service and its officers. Number 10, gross misconduct by openly or publicly insubordinating the President, who is the head of state and government. And lastly, gross misconduct by persistently bullying state and public officers. Honorable Senators, you may take a seat. Senator Okoli, take your seat. Honorable Senators, annexed to the message conveying the said resolution of the National Assembly are the following documents. 1, copy of the notice of special motion and affidavit of the Honorable Ekomas Mwenge Mutuse, OGW MP, dated the 26th of September 2024 and received on the 27th of September 2024, running from page 40 to 42. 2, electronic evidence relating to the special motion contained in a flash disk. Order papers for the 1st of October 2024. Communication from the Chair, number 046 of 2024, issued on Tuesday, the 1st of October 2024. Communication from the Chair, number 047 of 2024, issued on Tuesday, the 1st of October 2024, certified Hansard and votes and proceedings of 1st of October 2024, communication from the Chair, number 048 of 2024, issued on the 2nd of October 2024, letters of appointment of advocates, Swanya and Company Advocates for His Excellency the Deputy President, Dunstan Omari Advocates for Morani Manufacturers Limited, letter to His Excellency the Deputy President forwarding the notice of motion, affidavit of service on His Excellency the Deputy President, order paper for 2nd of October 2024, certified Hansard and votes and proceedings for the 2nd of October 2024, public participation advertisement of the 2nd of October 2024 for Daily Nation newspaper, Standard newspaper, and the Star newspaper. Public participation advertisement of the 3rd of October 2024 for the Daily Nation newspaper, Standard newspaper, Star newspaper, and Taifa Leo. Public views template, English and Swahili. Memo to constituency county office managers dated the 4th of October 2024. Public participation advertisement for the 4th of October 2024 in the Daily Nation newspaper, Standard newspaper, and the Star newspaper. Order issued by the High Court sitting at Kerugoya on Friday, the 4th of October 2024. A press statement by the Clerk of the National Assembly on the extension of public participation issued on the 4th of October 2024. Public participation advertisement of 5th of October 2024 placed on the Standard newspaper and the Nation newspaper. Public participation report tabled on the 8th of October 2024, response to the notice of special motion from His Excellency
the Deputy President received on the 8th of October 2024 at 4 p.m. electronic evidence by His Excellency the Deputy President relating to the special motion contained in a flash disk, order paper for the 8th of October 2024, communication from the Chair number 049 of 2024 issued on the 8th of October 2024, and a certified Hansard and votes on proceedings for 8th of October 2024. Honorable Senators, kindly work and take your seats. Honorable Senators, this impeachment motion is unique and unprecedented, as it is the first ever to propose the removal from office by impeachment of a Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya. This moment calls for deep reflection on the critical responsibility of the Senate in investigating such proposal for removal of state officers from office. Senator Eddy, be attentive. The impeachment process is a fundamental tool of legislative oversight and a crucial aspect of the constitutional mechanism for checks and balances. The process is invoked by legislatures, and in particular, in our case, Parliament and county assemblies, as a safeguard for good governance and integrity in public service. Now, honorable senators, as you may well be aware, the Senate has been entrusted by the Constitution with a singular role to sit as a quasi-judicial body to investigate any proposed removal from office by impeachment of the President, Deputy President, county governors, and deputy county governors, and to make a determination on the alleged infractions of the Constitution and other laws. As this matter comes before you, I cannot underscore enough the immense public interest that this matter has elicited, and for good reason. This is yet another opportunity for the Senate to demonstrate its fidelity to the Constitution and to live up to its reputation. It is therefore behoves the Senate as the trial chamber to maintain integrity and impartiality in this administration of justice, and to make a determination on this matter purely based on its merits. Honorable Senators, in terms of the way forward, the manner of disposing of this impeachment motion will not be significantly different from how the Senate has previously investigated and determined the proposed removal from office by impeachment of county governors and deputy county governors. Standing Order 781 of the Senate, standing orders, as read together with Articles 152 and 145(3)(b) of the Constitution, provide the Senate with two options on how to proceed with this matter. Senate may, 1, by resolution, appoint a special committee comprising 11 of its members to investigate the matter, or 2, investigate the matter in plenary. In this regard, the Senate Majority Leader will, at an appointed time during this sitting, give a notice of motion and move a motion for the establishment of a special committee. Till the motion be carried, the special committee will investigate the matter and report to the Senate on whether it finds the particulars of the allegations against the Deputy President to have been substantiated. In the event the motion for the establishment of a special committee does not pass, the Senate will proceed to investigate the matter in plenary. Consequently, I will appoint a date for the commencement of the hearing of the evidence for purposes of the investigation. Now, honorable senators, I wish to emphasize that the debate on the motion for establishment of a special committee shall be confined to the matter of the motion. That is, whether or not to establish the special committee. It shall be improper and out of order to debate the substance of the impeachment, its merits, propriety, prudence, or constitutionality, or legality of the process that have preceded the submission of the matter to the Senate. In the meantime, and during the pendence of this impeachment process in the Senate, I wish to caution honorable senators to desist from publicly commenting on the merits or demerits of the impeachment motion. Doing so will amount to anticipation of debate, which is an infringement of Standing Order 99 of the Senate Standing Orders. Honorable Senators, to make it clear, it shall constitute gross disorderly conduct within the domain of Standing Order 122 for a senator to make comments, whether written or spoken, in relation to the conduct of the Deputy President or the impeachment process, which is outside the confines of the impeachment proceedings, as such comments may prejudice the just outcome of this matter. As I conclude, I urge all honorable senators to stay true to the oath of office and exercise the highest level of responsibility on this particular matter. I thank you. Now, honorable senators, a supplementary order paper has been circulated. I believe it's been posted to your gadgets. You may now abandon the order paper that we have been using earlier on and switch to the new order paper. Clerk, you may now proceed to call the next order.
Order number 6, notices of motion.
The majority leader.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I rise to give notice of the following motion, which is the establishment of a special committee to investigate the proposed removal from office by way of impeachment of His Excellency Rigathi Gachagua, EGH, the Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya. That whereas pursuant to Article 151B and 2 and Article 145 of the Constitution and the National Assembly Standing Orders number 64 and 65, on the 8th of October 2024, the National Assembly approved a special motion for the removal from office by impeachment of H.E. Rigathi Gachagua, EGH, Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya. And further, whereas by letter reference NADLP TBO MTS 2024-025, dated 8th of October 2024 and received in the office of the Speaker of the Senate on the 9th of October 2024. The Speaker of the National Assembly informed the Speaker of the Senate of the approval of the special motion by the National Assembly and further forwarded to the Speaker of the Senate documents in evidence of the proceedings of the National Assembly. And whereas pursuant to Article 145(3)(b) of the Constitution, as read together with Article 152 of the Constitution and Standing Orders 78(1) and 79 of the Senate Standing Orders, the Senate may by resolution appoint a special committee comprising 11 of its members to investigate the matter. Now, therefore, pursuant to Article 145(3)(b), the Constitution as read together with Article 152 of the Constitution and the Standing Orders of the Senate Standing Orders, the Senate resolves to constitute a special committee to investigate the proposed removal from office by impeachment of H.E. Rigathi Gachagua, EGH, Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Next order.
Order number 8, motion, establishment of a special committee to investigate the proposed removal from office by impeachment of His Excellency Rigathi Gachagua, EGH, the Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya.
Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, there is a motion on I beg to move the following motion: the establishment of a special committee to investigate the proposed removal from office by impeachment of H.E. Rigathi Gachagua, EGH, Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya. That whereas pursuant to Article 151B and 2, Article 145 of the Constitution and the National Assembly Standing Orders 64 and 65, on 8th of October 2024, the National Assembly approved a special motion for the removal from office by impeachment of His Excellency Rigathi Gachagua, EGH, the Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya. And further, whereas by letter reference NADLP/TBO/MTS 2024-025, dated 8 of October 2024, received in the office of the Speaker of the Senate on the 9th of October 2024, the Speaker of the National Assembly informed the Speaker of the Senate of the approval of the special motion by the National Assembly, and further forwarded to the Speaker of the Senate documents in evidence of the proceedings of the National Assembly. And whereas pursuant to Article 145(3)(b) of the Constitution, as read together with Article 152 of the Constitution and Standing Order 78(1) and 79 of the Senate Standing Orders, the Senate may, by resolution, appoint a special committee comprising of 11 of its members to investigate the matter. Now, therefore, pursuant to Article 145(3)(b) of the Constitution, as read together with Article 152 of the Constitution and Standing Order 78(1) of the Senate Standing Orders, the Senate resolves to constitute a special committee to investigate the proposed removal from office by impeachment of His Excellency Rigathi Gachagua, EGH, Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya. Mr. Speaker, this is uncharted territory. For the first time, the Senate of the Republic of Kenya is being invited to conduct an impeachment hearing of a Deputy President. Much as this is constitutional, Mr. Speaker, it's the first time that this is happening. And there is a proposal before us as a House, as per our standing orders, to either consider this matter. We have two options as per our standing orders, to either consider this matter by a special committee or the plenary. The motion before us, Mr. Speaker, is a proposal to the House that we select 11 of our members from both sides of the House to consider this impeachment and advise us, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I don't know what is the excitement in the House. I have said already that this has never happened before, but that's the proposal, that should we, and I want to urge members to agree with me, that we elect 11 of our wisest and most trusted senators, Mr. Speaker, who we think have the sufficient wisdom to read on our behalf, make a decision, and as you know, as per our standing orders, Mr. Speaker, should they elect that the matters have not been substantiated, the matter dies, and there is no recourse for the House. However, should they confirm any of the 11 charges, even one, Mr. Speaker, then they will invite the rest of us to join them in making a decision. Therefore, Mr. Speaker, with those very many remarks, this is not a matter that I want to speak long to, because there's more serious matters that lay ahead with regards to this particular motion, Mr. Speaker. With those very many remarks, I want to invite the Senator for Nairobi, Senator Edwin Watenya Sifuna, to second this motion.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. As you have indicated in your communication, indeed this is a matter that is extremely unique, that has elicited immense public attention, and therefore, Honorable Speaker, given the mood of the House and especially on the minority side, I respectfully decline to second that motion.
Now, Senator Oburu. Order, honorable senators. You note that the Senate Majority Leader has moved a motion pursuant to Articles 145(3)(b) of the Constitution and Standing Order 78(1) for the establishment of a special committee to investigate the proposed removal from office by impeachment of His Excellency Rigathi Gachagua, AGH, Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya. The motion has, however, failed to get a seconder. Now, Standing Order 70 of the Senate Standing Orders states as follows. The question on any motion shall not be proposed unless it shall have been seconded, and any motion that is not seconded shall be deemed to have been withdrawn and shall not be moved again in the same session unless with the permission of the Speaker. Honorable Senators, as I communicated earlier today during the sitting, by way of a message on the resolution of the National Assembly, Article 145(3)(b) of the Constitution, as read together with Article 78(1), provides that the Senate, by resolution, may appoint a special committee comprising 11 of its members to investigate the matter. The motion having been deemed to be withdrawn, pursuant to Standing Order 71, the proposal for a special committee is defeated. The Senate will therefore proceed with the investigation of the proposed removal from office by impeachment of His Excellency Rigathi Gachagua, AGH, the Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya, in plenary. Honorable Senators, in line with the schedule of activities for an impeachment hearing in plenary, I hereby give the following directions. A, the clerk to issue invitations to appear to the Deputy President today, Wednesday, the 9th of October, 2024. B, the clerk to issue invitations to appear to the National Assembly today, Wednesday, the 9th of October, 2024. The parties to file their responses with the office of the Senate by Monday, the 14th of October, 2024, by 5 p.m. D, the clerk to circulate documents received from the parties, including the plenary hearing program, to all honorable senators upon receipt on Monday, 14th of October, 2024. And the Senate shall then investigate the matter in plenary on Wednesday, the 16th, and Thursday, the 17th of October, 2024. The Senate is accordingly guided. Thank you. Any clarification, Senator Fernandi?
Mr. Speaker, looking at the directions that we are given, I want to agree with the Senate Majority Leader that this matter is very unique. It is uncharted territory. We are so used to impeachment of governors as we have done before. Mr. Speaker, when you look at our Standing Order 78 on Senate Standing Orders, and also, Mr. Speaker, I needed your guidance and clarity on the process, because looking at Standing Order 78 on the removal, procedure for removal from state office, which includes the removal of the President, Deputy President of state office. Mr. Speaker, I want to invite Mr. Speaker, to request when you read under, sorry, Mr. Speaker, I'm trying to get second schedule of our standing orders, part 1, procedure when considering removal in plenary, either the President or the Deputy President. When you look at rule number 12, subject to these rules, the hearing of the evidence, once it commences, shall proceed and continue on until the Senate concludes the hearing of the matter. So, Speaker, this extrapolates itself from Article 145, 150 in the removal of either the President or the Deputy President, considering this a matter of national interest, and it will involve a lot of process of evidence producing and many other procedures. So, Speaker, considering the immense, would it be in order to request that, as per your direction, you increase even an extra day? You know, Mr. Speaker, they say justice should not be seen, should not only be seen, but to be seen to be done. Oh, okay, Mr. Speaker.
Order, Honorable Senator.
Mr.
Order.
Speaker, I'm happy.
Let the Senator Fernandez say it the way he understands it.
Yes.
Proceed.
And Mr. Speaker, I am directly translating from my Kalenjin mind, so members will have to bear with. Mr. Speaker, justice should not only be done, but should be seen to be done, Mr. Speaker. You know, we went to group of schools, some of us. Mr. Speaker, the point I wanted to make is that since the plenary process will allow Kenyans to follow, would it be in order whether we convict or acquit, because the law house, which was pre-trial chamber, and this is the real trial chamber, Mr. Speaker, where we shall be looking and setting precedent for future impeachment. I'm not predicting that there will be impeachment of president or deputy presidents in future, but Mr. Speaker, the point I wanted to make, and I don't know why Senator Sifuna is irritated. You'll have your time. Why are you worried? Mr. Speaker, that is what I want to conclude by saying, Mr. Speaker, just add an extra day so that the accusers, which is the National Assembly, can have elaborate time to present their case, and also the deputy president can have the time to present their case. So that, Mr. Speaker, when they move to another fora, they will have opportunity of having the opportunity of being given a chance and the principles of natural justice. I thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you for that indulgence, and I will properly be guided. Thank you.
Senator Fernandez, as we sit here, we don't know the number of witnesses that will be called. We don't know the volumes of documentation that will be filed. And therefore, let us go by the 2 days that I've communicated. One thing that the Senate will do, it is going to give adequate time to both parties. That's the much we are going to do as a Senate. No party will leave the Senate complaining about inadequacy of time to plead their case. Yes.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. And we conform to the directions that you've given and the communication that you have also given. And I actually agree to the wisdom of the Senator for Nairobi, that this is a matter of serious public interest. And the matter that is before us is so weighty, it cannot be left to the hands of 11 people. We need to hear it in plenary. And I also want to plead, based on two arguments, Honorable Speaker, looking at the communication that you've read, the number of grounds that have been set that are founded in this motion, Honorable Speaker, of impeachment. There are 11 grounds, Honorable Speaker, and in the experience that we have had as a House, I think this will be the highest number of grounds that we have ever looked at in as far as processing a motion of impeachment is concerned. That is my first concern. Number two, when we last dealt with the last impeachment of Governor for Meru, the reason why we were rushing against time and we didn't allow members to and give their input. And I would not want us to get ourselves in that kind of a situation, that members want to give their contribution, they want to convince the others, because the reason why a motion, we have to debate on this motion is that I can convince the other members that I think the Deputy President should be removed or should not be removed. And we didn't get that opportunity during the last sitting. Why? Because the dates that had been gazetted for that particular removal were lapsing that particular day, and we had to vote. We had to start voting before 12. So if we get ourselves in the situation that you said that we are processing this motion on Wednesday and Thursday, and it is Thursday, we are almost done with the proceedings at Thursday, 11:30. Then we don't have time to debate. It is upon this reason why then, even if we leave the 2 days that you have communicated, then we need to leave it open that if we find ourselves that we are just done with witnesses, both the accusers and the ones that are being accused, the defense team, Honorable Speaker, if you're not able to debate, then you can come the next day, debate and take a vote. We should not then hurry this process as we hurried the last process, and it's not that we hurried it, we wanted. Many members wanted to contribute. It is the reason why the voting was very acrimonious. Thank you very much for that. Nyandaro is far, and we have small challenges. So, it was very acrimonious here. You saw many members here, and it was not very neat. I would not want us to. I would not want to find us in such a situation. I wish you would allow that even if we get to Thursday and you have not gotten to debating, you can allow us to come on Friday, debate and vote.
Yes, Senator Wambua.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, just two things. One is on the matter of your communication about how then we conduct ourselves from today going forward. Mr. Speaker, you have given direction. These phones. You have given direction, Mr. Speaker, that members should restrain themselves from making public utterances, especially on the substance of this impeachment, which is a good direction, Mr. Speaker, because we are going into a long weekend and we're engaging with our constituents. The temptation to prosecute this matter even before it comes here is very high. So that caution is good, Mr. Speaker. Only that, Mr. Speaker, I will hasten to add that listening to the public wherever I go, and I don't go to a lot of places, Mr. Speaker, the whole world, the whole country is looking up to the Senate for justice to be seen to be done. In fact, there wasn't so much attention on the proceedings in the National Assembly. A lot of people saying, let's wait for this matter to go to the Senate. Mr. Speaker, this is a time that then the Senate of the Republic of Kenya must demonstrate real leadership. And the prayers that were being made by Senator Cheragay and Senator Medhu sit very well. That, Mr. Speaker, the assurance you have given that both parties will have sufficient time to prosecute cases and to do what they have to do. Mr. Speaker, let that assurance also go out that the judges sitting on this matter will also have sufficient time to reason, to caucus. Mr. Speaker, and when there is need for even members to take time off, 30, 40 minutes, to caucus and steer this thing properly. So, Mr. Speaker, we don't have, I would really hate to see a situation where we end up the way we did with the Kawira case, the Governor Kawira case, where the last minute of voting is so chaotic, Speaker. Speaker, one other thing that you may also need to...
Senator Kadure, just let him conclude so that I just give directions on this matter. Let us not prolong this debate.
Mr. Speaker, let me just conclude by saying the other thing that you may also guide us now and into the debate is try and teach us on the issue of patience. People should patiently listen to others.
Just conclude.
And especially when I express an opinion that is not in line with your opinion.
What is your point of order, Senator?
Oh, my goodness.
Because you're really insisting.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. Mr. Speaker, you know, if members will go that direction of Kawira Mwangaza case, Mr. Speaker, this case is in court. And what they're implying is that what was processed here was not right. Did you like so it is not it is not standing very well, Mr. Speaker, sir, because this matter has not been determined in the court. And one of the issues that has been raised by the parties is that some of the members did not vote. There was no time for discussion and all those matters, Mr. Speaker. So I think it will not be fair to the Meru County community if we discuss this matter now, because it is an issue which is in court, Mr. Speaker. Sir.
Good. Honorable Senators, we shall conclude. No, it's me to conclude, Senator Wambua. Now, this is my direction, and it's very much what I've already directed. Honorable Wambua, which floor I have taken away from you? So, Senator Wambua, you're out of order and leave the chamber now for the rest of the day. Leave the chamber. We need to be orderly in this matter. We're going to handle a very heavy matter. We cannot have any senator heckling the speaker. As we go to this impeachment, you need to behave, Senator Wambua. Leave the chamber now for the rest of the sitting. Leave the chamber. Leave the chamber. Leave the chamber, Senator Wambua. Honorable Senators, the chapter we are just about to open, the process we are just about to undertake is extremely heavy. The country and the world is watching. Decorum is the least we'll be expecting from members. Senator Fonandi has raised a valid concern. Upon reading these charges, we have 10 days to conclude the process. I have directed that this matter be heard within 2 days. We have not seen the kind of documentation that is going to be filed. We have not seen the number of witnesses that are going to be called by each party. Once we see the documentation and the list of witnesses, and it becomes obvious that we cannot conclude this matter within 2 days, we have Friday. And therefore, let us cross the bridge when we get there. But one thing I want to assure the country is the Senate is going to do justice in this matter. All the parties are going to be given a fair, they're going to have their day in the Senate. There will be zero complaints after the conclusion of this matter.
Huyu anasema nini hapa?
That on Wednesday and Thursday as well, we have the impeachment motion or process of the Deputy President. Therefore, a lot of energy is required from senators next week. So all the senators, including the young ones like my kid brother Eddie, Mr. Speaker, need to spare energy this weekend, and so that next week they have a lot of energy in the House, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, finally, is just to note, Mr. Speaker, that this is a simple procedure motion, which I don't expect that there'd be a debate about. It's just agreeing on the times so that we can get the response and begin on the process. With those many remarks, Mr. Speaker, I beg to move and request Senator Okongo Omogeni, my neighbor from Nyamira County, to second. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Okongo Omogeni.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Sir, I stand to second the motion by Majority Leader and the Senator of Kericho, my neighbor, and I agree that the matter is weighty. The Senate is on the spotlight. This is the time we need to demonstrate to the country that we are fair. We can discharge our functions impartially, without fear and favor. And I second the motion, Mr. Speaker.
Senators, I propose the question that, notwithstanding the resolutions of the Senate made pursuant to Standing Order 32 on 15 February 2024, 26 June 2024, 19 August 2024, and 17 September 2024 on the approval of the Senate calendar regular sessions for the third session 2024, the Senate resolves: 1. Pursuant to Standing Order 34 4C, to hold sittings on Monday, 14th October 2024, starting at 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. and 2:30 p.m. until conclusion of business listed in the order paper of the day. 2. Pursuant to Standing Order 34B, to hold a morning sitting on Tuesday, 15th October 2024, starting at 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. And 3. Pursuant to Standing Order 4A, to extend the sitting time on Tuesday, 15th October 2024, afternoon sitting, until conclusion of business listed in the order paper of the day, in order to investigate the proposed removal from office by impeachment of the Honorable Dr. Eric Kipkoech Mutai, the Governor of Kericho County. Honorable Senators, I can see a few senators lined up here on my screen. So is that the mood of the House? Yes. Now let me hear the wisdom of Senator Sigei Wakiri.
Mr. Speaker, you may proceed to put the question.
Senator Andan Dulo Fatuma. Senator Derito John Kenywa. Majority leader will not teach him how to chair this session.
Asante Bwana Spika. Bwana Spika, mimi nasumbuka kwa sababu tayari tumejitia katika kitanzi, kwa sababu tayari tumesema zile siku ambazo tutakuwa tumezitenga ndio tuweze kujadili mswada huu. Bwana Spika, ni vile vile tukijipata katika ule mjadala alafu kutakuwa na masuala mengine nyeti. Bwana Spika, naona tutajipata katika tu ile sehemu ya kwamba hatuna muda wa kutosha kuyaangazia yale masuala kindani, kwa sababu tuwezi tutaenda siku ile nyingine ambayo ni siku ya Wednesday, kwa sababu tayari tumeitenga kwa shughuli nyingine tofauti. So, kwa hivyo Bwana Spika, ninasema kuendelea mbele Bwana Spika, pengine tungekuwa tukijipatia muda zaidi, lakini naunga mkono Bwana Spika.
Kwa hoja hii Seneta Kinywa, kwa hoja hii tuko nayo, iko wazi kabisa ya kwamba Jumanne tarehe 15 afternoon sitting tutakaa mpaka tumalize biashara, business listed in the order paper of the day. So that is why the majority leader and Vice Senator Ndokech to preserve more energy over the weekend, so that even you can sit up to 6 a.m. on Wednesday morning until we clear the business that will be listed on the order paper. It is not specific on the day. It is until the business on the order paper is concluded. So it is not specific to midnight on Tuesday. It is until we clear the business. So I think you can also familiarize yourself with the order paper before or even when the question is put. Honorable Senators, I put the question that notwithstanding the dissolutions of the Senate made pursuant to Standing Order 32 on 15th February 2024, 26th June 2024, 19th August 2024, and 17th September 2024 on the approval of the Senate calendar regular sessions for the third session 2024, the Senate resolves one, pursuant to Standing Order 34-4C, to hold sittings on Monday, 14th October 2024, starting at 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. and 2:30 p.m. until conclusion of business listed in the order paper of the day. And two, pursuant to Standing Order 34-4B, to hold a morning sitting on Tuesday, 15th October 2024, starting at 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. And three, pursuant to Standing Order 34-4A, to extend its sitting time on Tuesday, 15th October 2024, afternoon sitting until conclusion of business listed in the order paper of the day, in order to investigate the proposed removal from office by impeachment of the Honorable Dr. Eric Kipkoech Mutai, the Governor of Kericho County. Will as many as of that opinion say aye? Aye. Will those of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. Next one.
Order number 10, motion. Report of the 9th Interparliamentary Union Global Conference of Young Parliamentarians held in Hanoi, Vietnam from 15th to 17th September 2023.
Senator Mevdu was to move this motion, but I cannot see him around. Next order. So the session is deferred until next time that will be allocated. Next order.
Order number 11, motion. Reports of the Kenya delegation to the 147th and 148th assemblies of the IPU and related meetings held in Luanda, Angola from 23rd to 27th October 2023 and in Geneva, Switzerland from 23rd to 27th March 2024, respectively.
Senator Catherine Muma.
Honorable Speaker, thank you. I wish to
move the motion on the reports of the Kenya delegation to the 147th and 148th Assemblies of the International Parliamentary Union, IPU, and related meetings that were held in Luanda, Angola from